Open the door. Please, why are you locking me inside? Open the door. The voice rang through the hallway, filled with panic and disbelief. Long ago, in the prosperous town of Arowa, lived a girl whose beauty could soften even the hardest heart. Her name was Lara, but those who knew her simply called her Lara. She came from a powerful lineage. Her grandparents were the founders of Deceit Holdings, a vast business empire that stretched across the country. Everyone knew the name, Deceit. It meant wealth, legacy, and influence. But Lara's life wasn't filled with the joy her last name promised. Tragedy struck early. When she was just 2 years old, her parents and baby brother died in a ghastly car crash on their way back from a family celebration. Lara, too young to understand grief, was left to be raised by her grandparents, Mama Aduk and Baba Tund, the original visionaries behind Deceit Holdings. They poured all their love into her. Mama Aduk would often say, "Our child's heart must not carry sorrow. Let us bury hers beneath our smiles." They gave her everything, not just comfort and riches, but humility too. Lara grew up modest, kind, and respectful. You'd never guess she belonged to one of the richest families in Arowa. On the streets, she dressed simply, spoke softly, and treated everyone with warmth, from cleaners to kings. But fate was not yet done with her. At age 18, Mama Aduk passed on quietly in her sleep, leaving behind only Baba Tund and Lara to face the world. From then on, they became each other's whole world. Lara never made a decision without telling her grandfather, and he in turn could not rest unless he knew she was happy. Years passed. Lara became a radiant woman, graceful and resilient. Baba Tund aged, slowly but surely. Wrinkles deepened around his eyes, and his steps grew careful. The thought of leaving his granddaughter alone in the world haunted him. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills of Arowa, Baba Tund called Lara into the veranda. They sat under the large mango tree where Mama Aduk used to shell groundnuts. "My jewel," he began, his voice slow but clear. "There's something heavy on my heart. It follows me into my sleep and wakes me before the cock crows." Lara turned to him gently. "What is it, Baba?" "I'm afraid, Lara. You're still unmarried. I'm the last of your family, and time is not on my side. If I leave this world without seeing you with a good man by your side, I fear what might become of you." Lara's eyes filled with tears. "Don't say that, Baba. You're all I have left. You cannot leave me." "I'm not dying yet," he chuckled, "but my bones tell me the truth. I want to see you married, settled, with children in your arms before I journey to join your grandmother." Lara breathed out slowly, wiping her tears. "You'll see it, Baba. I already have someone. His name is Tajudeen. Soon we'll marry and fill this compound with laughter again." At the mention of the name, Baba Tund's face hardened. "That boy," he muttered. "I've told you before, Lara. He's not the one." Lara frowned. "Baba, why don't you like him? Is it because he comes from a poor home?" "No, my daughter," Baba replied, leaning forward. "You've misunderstood me. I don't hate his poverty. Remember, we two once had nothing. In this very Lagos, I sold roasted corn on the roadside. Mama Aduk tied sachets of water on her head to sell in traffic. We earned every kobo with sweat and grit." "Then what is it, Baba?" Lara asked. "It's his spirit," Baba said quietly. "I've seen his eyes. They never rest. He looks around like someone always hiding something. He never meets my gaze for long. A man's eyes tell his story, and his are full of shadows. He is not a man who carries light." "But I love him, Baba," Lara whispered. "And that is what frightens me most," Baba said. "Love can blind even the wisest of women." The truth was, Lara had met Tajudeen years ago at a tech seminar organized by Arowa Holdings. She was volunteering undercover as an event usher, eager to experience the world without her name. Tajudeen was among the speakers, a passionate, confident young man who spoke of dreams beyond his circumstances. He didn't know she was the heiress. She liked it that way. They exchanged contacts, shared stories, and fell into rhythm like a drum and its beat. Months passed before she revealed her true identity. At first, Tajudeen had laughed, thinking it a joke. But when she showed him the proof, he looked at her with awe, then pride. "Me?" he had said. "A boy from the gutters of Ilupju? With the granddaughter of Baba Tund Adikanal?" She had simply smiled. Love doesn't check bank accounts. Since then, they had planned their future: children, travel, even a small home in a quiet village. But Baba Tund remained a stone wall. His disapproval never wavered. Still, Lara's heart refused to change. She leaned her head on his shoulder that evening under the mango tree. "He's not perfect, Baba, but he makes me feel seen. He listens. He dreams with me." Baba sighed, wrapping his arm around her gently. "I pray I'm wrong, my child. But if I'm not, may your heart be strong enough to survive the storm. He's the man I want to grow old with, Baba, please. For my sake, just accept him," Lara whispered, her hands folded tightly in her lap. Baba Tund stared at her for a long moment before he let out a deep sigh. "All right," he said. "Slowly, if your heart is set on this man, then I won't stand in your way. But there's one condition." Lara leaned forward with curiosity. "Condition? What is it now, Baba?" she asked. "We will test him," Baba replied calmly. "We will see if his love for you is real, if his heart is true. Leave the details to me. I already know what I'll do." A few months later, Lara and Tajudeen got married. It was a simple, quiet ceremony. Tajudeen's mother, Mama Iredi, had wanted a grand affair, one that would bring all her village union women and local dignitaries. "Let them see that my son has made it in life," she had said. But Lara and Tajudeen wanted peace. They chose intimacy over spectacle. Despite Mama Iredi's protests, the wedding went as they wished. Their new life together started beautifully. Tajudeen began working at Arowa Holdings beside his wife. They were deeply in love, the kind of love that made neighbors smile and strangers whisper blessings. Tajudeen treated Lara like the queen of the world. Breakfast in bed on most mornings, daily drives to and from work, whispered jokes, and stolen kisses in the kitchen. Lara would often look at him and think, "Baba Tund was wrong. Tajudeen is everything I prayed for." But joy, like the morning mist, often fades quickly. One day, while Lara was in the office reading a report, her phone rang. A strange number. She picked up and froze. Baba Tund had collapsed from a heart attack. Before help could arrive, he had taken his last breath. Lara dropped the phone. Her heart stopped. She ran from the office like a wounded bird, jumped into her car, and drove toward his house with tears blinding her. But she never made it there. At a sharp turn, a truck rammed into her car. The windshield exploded. Shards of glass flew, piercing her face and eyes. Blood, screams, silence. She was rushed to the hospital. The doctors tried everything. Tajudeen waited outside the theater, whispering prayers, hoping for a miracle. But when the doctor emerged, his face was grim. "The damage is too deep," he said. "The glass has torn through both her eyes. I'm sorry. She'll never see again." Tajudeen sat down heavily. Just like that, his world had turned black too. First Baba Tund, the last elder in Lara's life, was gone. Now she would never see again. He feared what this would do to her, to them. When Lara was finally discharged weeks later, he brought her home. The house felt colder, quieter, different. He tried to be strong. He helped her walk around, described everything in the room. He told her the colors of the day and the way the sky looked. He guided her hand to the spoons, the doorway, the soap dish. But how long could one man carry such a weight? Months passed. Tajudeen struggled to balance work and caring for Lara. He hired caregivers, but none stayed. They all left within weeks, some saying the pressure was too much. So Tajudeen carried it all alone. Time blurred, and before anyone could notice, 2 whole years had crawled by. One afternoon, his phone rang. It was Mama Iredi, calling from her village. "My son, how is your day going?" she asked softly. "I'm all right, Mama," he replied. "I need to ask you something important," she said, her tone turning sharp. "And I want you to answer me as your mother. What exactly are you doing with your life now?" "Mama, what do you mean?" "Don't pretend not to understand. Since you married that girl, what have you achieved? She's blind, and she's barren too. 2 years, and not even 1 child. And you're nothing but her houseboy now. Do you own a car? A house? Anything at all? Is this what you dreamed of when you were struggling to finish school?" Tajudeen clenched his jaw. "Mama, please stop. I love her. She didn't ask to go blind. She's not to blame. And are you going to let her ruin your life too?" She snapped. "You are wasting your years with a woman who gives you nothing. Leave her. Find a woman who can build a real future with you. One who can give you children." "I can't," he said quietly. "Where is my pride if I depend on my wife for everything? I will build with my own hands when the time is right, but I will not throw her away because life turned cruel." After the call, Tajudeen sat in silence. Her words echoed in his head. He had never imagined his life like this. But how could he walk away now? That weekend, Mama Iredi arrived unannounced. Tajudeen opened the door and froze when he saw her standing in the living room with her travel bag. "Mama, why didn't you tell me you were coming? I need permission to visit my own son now." She snapped. "No, Mama, I just meant, if we had known, we would have prepared for you." "Don't bother," she said, waving him off. "I came to help you find your brain again. Now tell me, where is that blind girl you married?" "Mama, please don't speak like that. I will speak as I wish. Blind and barren, she must choose one. She cannot own both afflictions." She looked around, her face stiff. "Take me to my room. I came to fix this madness." That evening, Mama Iredi packed her wrapper and sat on the edge of her bed, fuming. Her words, sharp as a blade, echoed through the corridor as she spoke to her son. But what she didn't know was that Lara had been standing just a few feet away, behind the door, listening. The words sliced her heart. Blind and barren witch. She must choose one affliction, not both. Lara turned away quietly, tears pouring down her cheeks. She held the pain inside so Tajudeen wouldn't see. She didn't want to burden him further. That night, she wept alone. For the next few days, Mama Iredi made her stay unbearable. She didn't insult her directly. No, she was cleverer than that. She hummed rude songs in the kitchen, sang about women who couldn't bear children, and loudly discussed curses and wasted beauty. She would sit near Lara and mutter under her breath just loud enough for the blind woman to hear. Still, Lara said nothing. She bore it all in silence, for the sake of her husband. One late evening, after the house had gone quiet, Mama Iredi called her son into the guest room. "My child," she began, her voice laced with fake worry, "I am troubled for you. This houseboy life you are living will not end well." "Mama," Tajudeen replied, exhausted, What do you mean again? Look at you. You cook, clean, and serve a woman every day. And what do you have to show? Nothing. You're married. To wealth, yet your pockets are dry. Your siblings are struggling. We have no land, no house. What if that girl wakes up one day and divorces you? What will you do? She will keep everything, and you'll walk away with shame. Tajudeen frowned. Mama, Lara would never do that. If I ever asked, she would give me anything. But I can't. Where's my dignity? I'm her husband, not a beggar. Mama already waved her hand. I'm not saying you should beg. I'm saying be wise. Tell her to promote you in the company. Become something there. Get to a place where you can start planning for your future. If not for yourself, do it for us. Your siblings need you. Tajudeen sat silently, staring at the wall. Even if you don't want to leave her, find another woman. One that can give you children. What can Lara do? She's blind. She'll never know. Use your head, my son. After that night, Tajudeen could no longer sleep well. Mama's words haunted him. He had sacrificed so much. He worked day and night, cared for Lara, ran errands, and still worked at Adikunal Holdings. Yet his own family was still poor, and at the company, many of his colleagues looked down on him. Some called him the house husband. Some laughed behind his back. And worst of all, he had nothing in his name. That weekend, he met his old friends, Connell and Ife, at a local lounge. He needed their ears. Over bottles of malt and grilled. Suya, he shared everything. His mother's words. His frustration. His fear. Connell said, nodding slowly. Your mother's sharp. But this is marriage, for better or worse. I think you need to sit with your wife. Talk. Always said she loves you. Maybe she'll help you build something. Ife scoffed. Talk to her? And do what? Beg? My guy, you've played this game too soft. You're her husband. Tell her to promote you. Ask for something big, like chief financial officer. She'll say yes. She's blind, not stupid. Use that to your advantage. CFO? Tajudeen said, shaking his head. That seat belongs to Mr. Bogenrin. He's been with the company for over 30 years. Lara's grandfather trusted him like a son. Even Lara respects him too much to just replace him. Then move him, Ife said, leaning forward. Don't remove him. Just transfer him. Pressure Lara. She won't say no. You're her weakness. Connell raised his brow. Careful, Tajudeen. That road is slippery. But Ife countered every warning Connell gave, and by the end of the night, Tajudeen was no longer the same. Later that week, Tajudeen approached Lara. Lara, he said gently, I've been thinking. It's time I hold a more respected position. In the company, people talk. They say I only married you for wealth. But if I were CFO, they'd stop. Lara looked surprised. CFO? Why now? I'm your husband, he said firmly. Don't I deserve that kind of responsibility? Everyone mocks me. I understand, Lara replied slowly. But Mr. Bogenrin has held that position for 3 decades. He helped build the company. My grandfather trusted him like a brother. I can't just push him out. I'm not saying fire him, Tajudeen sighed, frustration creeping in. Just move him to another department. Let me take his place. After all my sacrifices, don't I deserve that? Lara's heart sank. She wanted to please her husband, but her instincts screamed against it. Yet the tension grew. Tajudeen began giving her the cold shoulder. He barely spoke. He acted like a ghost in their home, and Lara, blind but not blind to love, felt the emotional blackmail tightening around her. After several days of silence, she gave in. She transferred Mr. Bogenrin to another department and named Tajudeen as the new chief financial officer of Adikanal Holdings. At first, all seemed calm. But within weeks, Tajudeen changed. He grew bolder, arrogant. His suits became sharper, his voice louder. And behind closed doors, he began shifting company funds into his personal accounts. At first, it was small amounts, a few million here and there. But the taste of power is a hunger that grows with every bite. And so, the man Lara loved began to vanish. Tajudeen became greedy, slowly at first, then without control. What began as small embezzlements turned into a flood. He began moving huge sums of company funds into foreign accounts, cleverly masked under fake vendor payments and overseas partnerships. Some money went into Swiss accounts, others into offshore firms, all rooted in ways that would never point back to him. In just a few months, he built a large mansion for Mama Iredi in the village and set all his siblings up in different businesses. He also bought properties across Lagos, all under his mother's name. But with money came arrogance, and with arrogance came recklessness. Tajudeen began to change. He stopped coming home early. He spent less and less time with Lara. When she asked where he had been, he simply replied, "Work is demanding." But Lara could feel the distance, and though she was blind, she could sense his heart drifting far from her. One night, while out drinking with his friend Ife, Tajudeen noticed a woman who caught his attention. She was striking, dressed like someone who knew what she wanted. Her name was Ifeyama. As soon as their eyes met, Tajudeen approached her with confidence. Within minutes, he was spinning lies. "I'm married," he admitted, "but to a woman I don't love. She's blind, and I'm filing for divorce soon." It wasn't long before Tajudeen and Ifeyama began a full-blown affair. Every day after work, Tajudeen would pass by her apartment, relax, drink, and spend time with her before dragging himself home past midnight. In a matter of weeks, he bought her a luxury car and moved her into a penthouse in one of Lagos's most expensive neighborhoods, all using stolen company funds. Then one day, Ifeyama told him she was pregnant. Tajudeen was thrilled. Finally, a child, proof of his manhood. But Ifeyama wasn't content being a secret anymore. She began demanding more. "I want a real home," she said one evening. "I don't want to be your side woman anymore. I want you to marry me. Come and pay my bride price, or I will leave. With this child, and you'll never find us." Tajudeen was panicked. He needed more time. He hadn't yet withdrawn all the money he planned to take, and if he divorced Lara now, he'd lose access to the rest. "Please, Ifeyama," he pleaded over the phone. "Just give me some time. Once I finish what I'm doing, I'll leave that blind witch and marry you." Ifeyama scoffed. "Time? The baby is almost here. I don't even know where you live. I'm tired of your fake promises. Marry me now or I disappear." Later that night, Tajudeen called his friend Kunal. "Bro, I'm in trouble," he said. "Ifeyama is pregnant. She's pushing me to marry her." Kunal was silent. Then he said, "Wow. Congratulations, I guess. But what are you going to do?" Tajudeen sighed. "I can't leave Lara now. I still need her, or at least her name. There's still money to collect." Ife, who was also there, jumped into the conversation. "My guy, why fight for crumbs when you can own the whole bakery? Make Lara name you as her next of kin. Once that's done, all her assets, the company, everything becomes yours. Then you can vanish her and start afresh with Ifeyama." Tajudeen sat quietly for a moment. "That's genius," he finally said. "I didn't even think of that. Thanks, bro." A few days later, Tajudeen sat Lara down and said softly, "My love, can you do something for me? Make me your legal next of kin. You know, in case anything happens, I want to be the one." Responsible? Lara hesitated. She didn't understand why he was suddenly interested in such things. But after much persuasion, and because she still believed in her husband, she agreed. She signed the documents, unknowingly handing over her entire life. With that signature, Tajudeen became one step closer to his goal. But he wasn't finished. One evening, Tajudeen did something unspeakable. He brought heavily pregnant Ifeoma into their home, the same home he once built with Lara. That night, he locked Lara in a guest room and took Ifeoma into the master bedroom. There, he created memories on the very bed he had once shared with his wife. Sometime around midnight, Lara, thirsty and unaware of what was happening, tried to step out of the room, only to find the door locked. She knocked softly at first, then louder, calling Tajudeen's name, but no one answered. The next morning, after Tajudeen had dropped Ifeoma off at her apartment, he returned and unlocked the door. Lara stepped out, confused and hurt. "Why did you lock me in?" She asked. "The door jammed," Tajudeen replied casually. "Bad locks." "That's strange," Lara replied, frowning. "Every other door in this house works fine. Why only that one?" "Oh, please," Tajudeen barked. "Are you the one seeing it? I said the lock was bad." From that day forward, it became routine. Tajudeen would bring women into their home, while Lara was locked away like a prisoner. Sometimes he didn't even return in time to let her out. One day, he forgot her completely. That day, Lara stayed locked inside the room for nearly 24 hours. No food, no water, no light. When he finally opened the door that night, he said nothing, not even an apology. "Are you hungry?" he asked flatly. Lara, exhausted and starving, nodded silently. He led her to the table and served her food. She ate hungrily, unaware that Tajudeen sat across the room, watching her with disgust. "Look at her," he thought. "A blind, pathetic woman. How did I end up with this pig?" And that night, the final seed of betrayal was planted in his mind. He had made up his mind. Lara had to disappear. Tajudeen knew poison would raise suspicion, and besides, if anyone ever investigated and traced it back, he would lose everything. No, he needed a cleverer plan, one that would erase Lara completely, without blood or blame. But before he could make her vanish, he needed to secure every remaining asset. For days, he plotted. He hired lawyers and financial experts in secret, and by the end of the week, they returned with a strategy so airtight, not even wind could slip through. One evening, after dinner, Tajudeen brought a stack of documents home. He told Lara they were minor company papers that needed her signature. As always, she trusted him. Without hesitation, she picked up a pen, stamped her approval, and unknowingly handed over her entire estate, everything from the company to the land and the homes. Tajudeen smiled that night like a man who had won a silent war. The next morning, he told Lara they were going for a quiet weekend retreat. "Just the two of us," he said cheerfully. "Outside the city? Fresh air, peace." Lara smiled, her face lighting up. She was thrilled at the idea of getting away with her husband. She packed lightly, and they set off, unaware of the evil waiting. But they did not drive to a resort. They drove to the outskirts of town, far from familiar roads. There, hidden in a quiet compound, stood a private facility, a care home for the abandoned. Tajudeen stopped the car and helped her out gently, telling her to wait at the entrance while he quickly ran to buy a few things. "I'll be right back," he said sweetly. Lara smiled and waited, clutching her handbag. She never saw him again. Inside, Tajudeen had paid the manager heavily. His instructions were clear. Lock her away. No visitors. No contact with the outside world. No phone, no computer. Then he got in his car and drove off, finally free. As the gates shut behind him, he grinned, the weight on his back gone. Back at the mansion, Ifeoma moved in like a queen. She gave birth to a baby boy, and Tajudeen, proud and satisfied, visited her family to formally ask for her hand in marriage. With Lara out of the way, he changed the company structure, fired anyone who questioned him, and ruled the business like a tyrant. No one could touch him. But far away, at the care home, Lara lived like a prisoner. She was locked in a single room with no light, no visitors, and little food. The workers treated her like a ghost. When she cried out, they silenced her. When she asked about her husband, they mocked her. Sometimes she went without food for days. She was never allowed outside. She missed the sun. She missed her life. And every night she cried, not just because of the pain, but because she had ignored Baba Tun's warnings. Now let us return to Tajudeen. The wedding day arrived, a grand celebration in the heart of the city. Dignitaries attended. Musicians played. Dancers filled the hall. Mama Iredi beamed from ear to ear, finally getting the showy celebration she had always craved. Ifeoma looked radiant in her bridal attire, and Tajudeen strutted like a man who had conquered the world. But just as the vows were about to be exchanged, the hall fell into silence. A woman entered, alone, graceful, and glowing. Lara. She wasn't holding a cane. She wasn't feeling her way. Her eyes sparkled with sight. Her steps were steady. The crowd gasped. Tajudeen's mouth fell open. He turned pale. He clutched Ifeoma's arm tightly. Lara? He whispered. What are you doing? Here, she smiled gently. I've come to collect everything you stole. Before he could speak again, another figure entered. Baba Tund. He was dressed in a fine igbada, his steps firm, his face calm. You're supposed to be dead, Tajudeen shouted, eyes darting between the two. How are you both standing here? The crowd watched in stunned silence, attention fixed on the unexpected drama. Baba Tund stepped forward. Tajudeen, he said calmly, I never liked you, but I stayed silent for my granddaughter's sake. And what did you do? You stole her sight, her peace, her name, and tried to bury her alive. But I was watching, always watching. He looked around at the crowd. This boy thought he was wise, but I was one step ahead. He turned back to Tajudeen. We've taken back every asset, every Cabo. Even the cars you bought for this new wife, they're no longer yours. You are done. Then he raised his voice. And now, you're going to prison. Just then, men from the Financial Crimes Commission stormed the hall. They showed their badges, handcuffed Tajudeen, and began reading his crimes aloud. The hall erupted into confusion. Gasps, screams, whispers. Mama Iredi fainted on the spot. Ifeoma tried to run, but was stopped. Tajudeen was dragged away in shame, his guests watching in horror. His story, the man who betrayed the blind heiress, would be told for years to come. He was sentenced to 50 years in prison for fraud, misappropriation of company funds, and attempted identity theft. Lara stood at the courthouse, head high. She had loved blindly, but now she saw the truth with perfect clarity. She and Baba Tund recovered the stolen funds. All the properties were reclaimed. Every loyal employee Tajudeen had fired was reinstated. 1 year later, while buying a car near a small cafe, Lara met a man named Season. He owned the cafe and served food with a smile that reminded her of the sun. Over time, they became friends, then lovers, and finally husband and wife. This time, Baba Tund approved. Lara and Season had 5 children, filling their home with laughter and stories. She had dreamed of a large family, and at last she had one. Baba Tund lived to 105. His last days spent watching great-grandchildren climb mango trees and play by the fireside. And as the sun set on his final evening, he smiled and whispered, "My princess is safe. My work here is done." If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the journey with others.